If you love thrilling mysteries, step into the unknown. Join the hunt, uncover the secrets, and feel the suspense. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and be part of the VQuest journey. Mia Reynolds wasn't the kind of person who got scared easily. As the creator of Urban Unknown, a fast-growing YouTube channel focused on exploring haunted and forgotten places, she had been inside crumbling asylums, ghost towns, and tunnels that even rats avoided. But nothing intrigued her like the story she heard in a small coffee shop on the edge of Black Pine Forest, the legend of Echo Vale Woods. The barista, an older woman with trembling hands, had leaned in close when Mia mentioned her channel. "You don't want to go there, sweetheart," she'd whispered. "People say the woods have a voice. It calls you by your own name, and once you answer, you never find your way out." Mia had smiled politely. Legends like that were gold for her viewers. Fear sold. So, the very next evening, she packed her camera gear, a flashlight, and her drone, determined to film the ultimate, haunted forest, episode. By the time she arrived, the sun was melting into the horizon, painting the woods in an eerie, reddish glow. The trees were tall, twisted things, their branches clawing at the sky like dark fingers. The forest floor was blanketed in a strange white fog that seemed to move on its own. She set up her camera on a tripod near the entrance and started recording her intro. "Hey, everyone, it's Mia from Urban Unknown. Tonight, I'm deep in Black Pine County to explore Echo Vale, a forest locals say is cursed. They claim voices echo here after midnight, mimicking anyone who dares to enter. Let's find out what's real." She smiled at the camera, but the moment she pressed record, something felt different. The air was heavier, as if the forest was holding its breath. Even the usual sounds, crickets, distant owls, the rustle of small animals, had vanished. All she could hear was the faint hum of her own equipment. As she walked deeper, her flashlight's beam cut through the fog in thin streaks. The path narrowed quickly, forcing her to brush past hanging vines and brittle twigs that snapped like bones. Her breath puffed white in the cold air. It shouldn't have been this cold, it was late summer. She stopped, lifted her camera, and whispered, "Is anyone here?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, faintly, from somewhere behind her, came the exact same question, in her own voice. "Is anyone here?" Her heart stopped. She swung around, shining her flashlight into the trees. Nothing. Just fog, and the faint shapes of trunks stretching endlessly in every direction. "Okay," she whispered nervously, half to herself, half to the camera. "That was probably an echo. That's why it's called Echo Vale, right?" She tried to laugh, but it came out weak. Still, she pressed forward, determined not to let nerves ruin her footage. Every few steps, she filmed small clips, moss-covered stones, strange claw marks on bark, and a decayed sign half buried in the dirt that simply read, "Turn back." At around the 20-minute mark, her flashlight flickered. The batteries were brand new. She tapped it, and the beam steadied again. But when she lifted it, she froze. Someone, or something, was standing between the trees about 20 feet away. A tall, pale figure, almost colorless, blending into the fog. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. Mia's throat went dry. "Hello," she called softly, though her instincts screamed at her to run. The figure didn't respond. It just tilted its head, as if studying her. She blinked, and it was gone. Her camera was still rolling, catching her shaky breathing. "I definitely saw something," she muttered. "I swear I did." Trying to calm herself, she turned the camera on selfie mode. "Okay, guys," she whispered. "I think someone's here with me. Maybe a squatter or, I don't know. But I'm going to keep filming. This might be the real deal." Then came the whisper again, her voice, this time closer, clearer. "I'm going to keep filming." Mia's pulse pounded in her ears. She swung the camera around wildly, but the forest seemed to have swallowed everything, even the path she came from. She couldn't tell which way was out anymore. Her breathing quickened. Every direction looked the same: fog, trees, shadows. The temperature dropped sharply, her breath visible in front of her. The air smelled faintly metallic, like blood and rain. She turned her camera back toward herself, whispering, "If anyone finds this footage, my name is Mia Reynolds. I came to Echo Vale Woods at." A sound cut her off. A branch snapping behind her. She turned sharply, flashlight trembling in her grip. For a split second, she saw a movement again, a pale face between two trees, eyes wide and hollow. Then darkness. The flashlight died completely. Her camera captured only the faint sound of her breathing and the crunch of leaves as she stumbled forward, deeper into the woods. The last thing the lens caught was her whispering voice, soft, trembling, and uncertain. "I just want to find my way out." Mia didn't know how long she had been walking. The woods had twisted into something that made no sense, paths curving back on themselves, trees that looked identical no matter which direction she turned. Her phone showed no signal, and her GPS kept flickering, showing her position jumping in circles. Every few minutes, she'd hear faint whispers of her own voice, repeating her earlier words like echoes caught in a loop. Then, through the fog, she spotted something. A shape. A structure. Relief flooded her chest. It looked like a cabin. Old, yes, but real. Shelter. Maybe someone lived there. As she got closer, she realized the place was ancient. The roof sagged under layers of moss, and the wooden walls were cracked, eaten away by time. The windows were covered with grime so thick that not even her flashlight could cut through. The door was slightly open, swaying gently as if inviting her in. "Hello," she called, voice trembling. "Is anyone here?" No answer. Just the soft creak of the door moving in the wind. Her camera was still running, and she turned it toward the cabin. "I found a structure," she whispered to her viewers, though deep down she wasn't sure who she was talking to anymore. "Looks abandoned. Maybe it's part of some old logging camp." She pushed the door open with one cautious hand. The smell hit her immediately, mold, damp wood, and something else, something sweet, rotten. She tried not to gag. Inside, the air was thick and stale. Her flashlight beam swept across old furniture covered in white sheets, a broken mirror leaning against the wall, and what looked like a table in the center of the room. On it sat a single object, a dusty film reel, its canister labeled in faded ink, The Discovery. Mia's brow furrowed. A film reel. Out here. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked it up. It felt oddly warm, as if someone had just held it. The handwriting on the label looked hurried, almost desperate, letters slanted, uneven. She turned it toward her camera. "Okay, this is weird. I just found an old film reel. It says, The Discovery." Something about the name made her uneasy. She glanced around the cabin again. The broken mirror caught her eye. Its surface was fractured, but it still reflected her face, or at least, she thought it did. For a second, her reflection didn't move with her. She stumbled back, breathing fast. No, it's just the lighting," she whispered, though her voice was shaking. Mia's curiosity overpowered her fear. She always carried a small portable projector for her, found footage, segments, props for building atmosphere. Maybe this film could be her biggest find yet. She unrolled a white cloth over the far wall, set up the projector, and carefully threaded the reel. The machine buzzed faintly as it began to play. At first, the film was nothing but static, flickering white lines and soft hissing. Then, slowly, an image formed. A woman appeared on the screen, walking through the forest. Her back was turned to the camera, flashlight in hand. Mia froze. The woman was wearing the exact same jacket she had on. The woman turned, and it was her. Same hair, same camera strap, same trembling hands. "What the?" Mia muttered, stepping closer. On screen, her double looked directly into the camera and spoke in a low, urgent whisper. "Don't look behind you." The words echoed through the small cabin like a gunshot. Mia's body went cold. She turned, barely breathing. In the far corner of the cabin stood the pale figure she'd seen in the woods. It wasn't hiding this time. It was staring straight at her, hollow eyes, as if carved from her own reflection. Her flashlight trembled in her hand, the beam shaking across the floorboards. "Who are you?" she gasped. The figure tilted its head, just like before in the forest. Its mouth opened, and when it spoke, it was her own voice. "Who are you?" Mia stumbled backward, crashing into the projector. The reel kept spinning, the film showing flashes of her, running through the woods, screaming, then standing perfectly still, staring into the camera as if waiting for herself to arrive. The machine whirred faster, the footage speeding up on its own. Every frame showed more versions of her, hundreds, thousands, walking in endless loops through the forest, entering the same cabin, watching the same film. She covered her ears, crying out, "Stop! Stop it. The projector sparked violently, the screen filling with static again. And through the noise came her whisper, from both the film and the darkness around her, overlapping, echoing from every corner of the cabin. Don't look away. Mia screamed and kicked the projector over. The light flickered, dimmed, then went out completely. The cabin was swallowed in darkness. Her camera, still recording, caught her ragged breathing and the faint creak of the door behind her. Then, just before the scene cut off, a single voice whispered, calm, cold, and unmistakably hers. Now you've discovered me. The darkness inside the cabin felt alive. It pressed in on Mia like invisible hands, heavy and suffocating. Her flashlight was dead, her projector had gone silent, and the only light came from her camera's dim recording glow, a weak red dot blinking in the black. She crouched low, her pulse racing so fast it made her dizzy. Her breath echoed too loud in the stillness. This isn't real, she whispered to herself. It's just a dream, a trick of light, hallucination maybe. But her voice didn't sound like her own anymore. It was trembling, distant, and when she stopped talking, she heard herself keep whispering, just half a second late, like a recording replaying her words. Something shuffled near the doorway. Slow. Deliberate. Mia raised her camera, trying to catch whatever it was. The lens showed the outline of the same pale figure, but now its movements were jerky, like frames missing in an old film. It tilted its head to the side again, then took a step forward. Who are you? She whispered. This time, the thing smiled. Not wide, just enough for its lips to stretch unnaturally, like cracked porcelain. You brought me back, it said in her own voice. You played the film. Mia backed away until her shoulders hit the wall. Stay away from me. But the figure didn't move closer. It just kept staring. Then, slowly, its form began to blur, and in its place, another version of her appeared. Same face, same jacket, same terrified eyes. The other Mia lifted a hand. I tried to warn you, she said softly. No one ever listens. Mia shook her head violently. You're not real. The other Mia's face flickered, twisting like a glitching screen. Real enough to replace you. Suddenly, the floorboards groaned. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting like lungs. Every reflection, the shards of the broken mirror, the glass on the old picture frames, even the lens of her camera, now showed her face, each one slightly different, crying, screaming, whispering. The sound built into a chorus of her own voice overlapping itself. Don't look behind you. Don't look away. Don't look away. Mia clamped her hands over her ears and bolted out of the cabin. The cold air hit her like ice. She ran without thinking, branches whipping at her arms, fog curling around her feet like claws. Her flashlight still dangled uselessly at her side, bouncing with every frantic step. But the woods wouldn't let her go. The path kept twisting back. No matter how far she ran, the same fallen tree, the same rock, the same eerie silence followed her. The whispers trailed close behind, sometimes near her ear, sometimes far away. Her own voice, mocking, repeating every terrified word she said seconds later. At one point, she thought she saw the faint glow of her car headlights through the trees. Relief surged through her chest, and she sprinted faster, tears streaming down her face. Please, please let it be real. But as she broke through the fog, her stomach dropped. It wasn't her car. It was the cabin. Again. It looked identical, only this time, the door was wide open, and inside, she could see the projector already playing, showing her walking toward it. No, she whispered. No, this isn't happening. But the footage on the wall showed her moving closer. Step by step. Exactly as she was doing now. Her hands trembled as she turned her camera toward her own face. If anyone ever finds this footage, she said, her voice cracking, please don't watch the film. Don't go to Echo Vale. It's not a place, it's a loop. A trap. The whisper came again, right beside her ear this time. Finish the discovery. Mia screamed, hurling her camera toward the open door, but before it hit the ground, the figure stepped out of the cabin and caught it. It smiled through the lens. The camera, still recording, tilted slightly as the figure turned it back toward her. For a moment, both Mias stood face to face. The real one, panting, shaking, dirt streaking her face, and the other, calm, expressionless, almost pitying. You filmed yourself, the double whispered. Now you'll play forever. Before Mia could move, the ground beneath her seemed to ripple. The fog surged upward, swallowing her whole. She screamed once, and then silence. The next morning, hikers passing through Echo Vale found a camera lying in the dirt just outside an old, half-collapsed cabin. The battery was nearly dead, but when they pressed play, the screen flickered to life. It showed a woman with Mia's face sitting calmly inside the cabin, speaking softly to the camera. "Welcome back to Urban Unknown," she said with a faint smile. "Tonight, I'm showing you my greatest discovery." Behind her, the projector played the same footage, her saying the same words, looping endlessly. And in the reflection of the broken mirror behind her, another Mia stood in the shadows, still screaming silently to get out.